Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Science Thursday, we're going to talk about no-till farming. So let's dive right into it. Now we have to understand this core aspect that soil is one of the most important resource for a nation. Meaning if your country has healthy soil, you're good. If not, you are starving to death. And not to mention you may have the illusion where it's like, oh, fuel can, is more important. Well, here's the you can't do much if you only have fuel and do not have good soil, while if you only have good soil you can still make fuel from that. Like that vegetable oil can run almost all 100% of the diesel engines. So you get that point. Like fertile soil is really important, and food is not optional for us. It's like we can live without. Nah, we need food. That's absolute. However, you have to understand, like we do study about soil in school, but we study in a very superficial level, very rough level. It's like it has some nutrition, it has like aeration quality, basically how much volume it has, air volume it has, how much humidity it has. But here's the once we started to understand soil, again, be mindful, this is not a very ancient technology. Like we only developed tools that can identify these sort of things recently, and only in like last 50 years we are really paying attention to the soil, where it's like, are you like, is there something more going on here? And the reality is it has a whole ecosystem of itself. Like I'm not talking about anything that is outside it. Anything that you are seeing on top of it, do not count that. Anything that is like much below it, don't count about that. But just on this layer itself, that humus layer, there is a whole ecology there, and it is alive. Meaning a soil can be alive or dead. Meaning it may look dead to us, but from a biological point of view, it is alive. And if it's not alive, well, your crops are dead. So fundamentally, we have to understand these things far more deeply than we originally anticipated. Originally, it was like, you put seed, you put water, you put some fertilizer, done, go home, sweet dreams. That's not good enough anymore. And farming requires a long-term balance. Meaning, if you want to farm for 5 years, go YOLO on it. 10 years, 20, 30, does not matter too much. But the moment you want to talk about multi-generational farming, meaning this patch of land should remain fertile for, let's say, hundreds of years or like indefinitely, yeah, we have to choose balance. At that point in time, most of the modern practices that we are used to is just not good enough. Meaning most of the modern practices that we utilize around farming is so unbalanced that sooner or later it's going to turn the land into infertile mess. Now be mindful, it's not the first time we are dealing with this. Like same thing happened with Nile also, Egyptian culture also. So it's one of those things that we are learning now. It's not like, oh, our ancient knew so much better. No, they did not, and their total production output was laughably small compared to what we do now. So we have to understand this very thoroughly. Balance is key. The more we balance it, the longer we can yield it. Now, what's the problem behind it? Problem is that we are using brute force. Every aspect of soil is like, we want to control it, we want to manage it, we just want to like, oh, you need air, we're gonna till this puppy out of it. Now that's what we call it, like tilling. That's what we are doing. Here's the deal. This is brute forcing soil. Soil should not need this. Under any and all circumstances, a soil should not need this. Think of it this way. We have forests. Forest are self-governing system, meaning it just takes care of itself. You do not put fertilizer there, yet somehow it can have tree trunks that are like hundreds of tons. I'm not even joking. So how the heck that's happening? Like, and they have hundreds of organisms growing or thriving on forest floor without any tilling. How the heck that's happening? Here's the deal. Tilling should not be needed. It's one of those things that we kind of did in emergency, because, well, after India's independence, India was growing in basically population, and we got really good Medicare very quickly. So our population went from around 30 to 50 crores to 150 crores. So you get that point. Like our population exploded. So our farming system had to account for it instantaneously. It's like boost the production right now. This sort of system works very well for that sort of requirement. It's like burst mode, make sure we have boatload of food, does work. However, it's a short-term profit with long-term disaster. Meaning right now this sort of farmers are struggling a lot, and I'm pretty sure this is common everywhere, even in USA, even in India, even in Pakistan. Everywhere is the same story. Farmers are struggling primarily because all the tools we utilized was very short-term tool. Meaning it's like draining a bore well. You drilled a bore well and you are draining water out of it. That's awesome. That will work for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years if you have really good underwater water reservoir. But over time it will run out. What do you do then? We are running out now. So that's the issue. Like that's why we seek balance. That's why, like, if you are dealing with borewell, you will always make sure that there is some way of putting the water back in, either by cleansing the water and then pouring it underground, or doing rainwater harvesting, or both of them. So that's the one thing we have to understand. Fundamentally, short-term thinking, it's no longer gonna work, and we are completely against natural cycle. Like there are few things nature hates, like flat out. Nature is like, no, I will not accept it. One of that is it does not like bare soil. Bare soil, nature, I'm gonna destroy this puppy. Like sunlight, ultraviolet, in that sunlight, meaning the microbiome, poofed out of existence. That's why, like, it fundamentally does not like that. Like, if you cannot have bare soil, sunlight itself is bad enough, then you have something known as wind, which can cool something we call as dust storm. So you get that point. Like, nature fundamentally hates bare soil. And be mindful, you may think bare soil, rain, it will soak in. No, it floods off. Like, you need a lot of vegetation in order to absorb rainwater. So be very mindful, nature hates bare soil, and we left our soil bare for surprisingly lot amount of time. So fundamentally, we have to start thinking soil in a different term. It is a physical entity, it can be broken, meaning when we are doing this, we are causing harm to it. Now again, once in a while doing this sort of thing, let's say after 10 years or 20 years, it's not gonna do much. But doing it every year or like 2-3 times a year, yeah, good luck. Your soil is like a running it's almost like a fixed deposit that now you are draining. Again, it will last 20 years, 30 years, but after that, poof, gone, no more crops, the land would be dead because you would have broken the soil. That's why this not acceptable. So what we talk about, like, is zero tilling. What does that mean? That, be very mindful, no tilling or zero tilling, it's an umbrella term, meaning going from 100% of this to very little as possible. Because while there are some options that allows you to have absolutely zero tilling, but that's like, from an economics point of view, from compatibility point of view, it's not done everywhere. So generally it's classified as an umbrella term, meaning anything versus the old one, that's the only comparison. Meaning if old one was destroying 100%, if you only destroy, let's say, 30%, that's acceptable. Only 5%, that's awesome. So this is the new era of tools that you will see. Now, the easiest way to stop zero tilling farming or low tilling farming is that you will see the main crop lines, but the gap in between will not be empty. There will be something. There will be generally cover crops, and they generally take care of the bulk loading of the situation. Now, aim with zero tilling is that one fact that we realize the soil can be broken. So aim is to minimize ground disturbances, like flat out minimize or flat out don't damage the soil. That's the one thing we have to understand. This, doing this tilling of the soil cooks it, meaning once you are doing this, you are exposing microbiome to outside air. It's no longer protected by soil. Now ultraviolet will cook it, and the fact that it's now exposed to the basically atmosphere, meaning it will lose moisture at alarmingly high rate, meaning it is going to dry out. So not only you are sterilizing the biodiome, you are also drying it out, meaning you are turning it into sand. You're basically killing it. So that's why if you do that every year, that's why you will always find soils that have been harvested very thoroughly, it becomes almost like concrete. That's the reason behind it, because you are just cooking it, sterilizing it, compacting it, cooking it, sterilizing it, compacting it. It's like you are making concrete. And this sort of no tilling option is basically has a, instead of whole big metal section that's like going on dragging around 1 foot of a canal, is just like one small blade. Generally these things have very small blades, and they are just like very little, very gentle on the soil, and it's very carefully calculated, because the idea is you have cover crops between 2 crops, you have cover crops, and then you just let it go. Basically you either cut it out, there is even better option than that, and you just directly plant it at that point. And you were like, wouldn't they suffocate there? No, it does not. That's why we realize, like, think of this, like, how the heck forest floor could have so much plantation? It always has plantation. That's the whole reality of it. Like, plants are far more resilient, and nature has a far more controlled ecosystem. So if you are doing it carefully enough, awesome, you're gonna have complete farming, and you are not destroying the soil. Now here's the benefit part of it. It causes what we call automatic layering of soil year after year, meaning year 1, let's say you started to do it this year, will you see benefit? Not too much, little bit. You will notice it. In of course the biggest thing you will notice is less fuel consumption on because tilling does require hundreds of horsepower. From this puppy is like much lower. So of course you will notice fuel, it will consume less water, you will notice all of these things, but it won't be like whoa. But here's the deal, it is a compound effect, meaning 1 year you did that, you did not damage the bio ecosystem that was growing in that system. That means the bio ecosystem had 1 year to grow downwards. Awesome. Next year you did the same thing, it grows further. Next year grows further. Now after, to give you a context of how far this puppy can go, after 25 years of doing this sort of system, you will laugh at people who are using fertilizer in their land. I'm not joking. Like, people have reached this sort of state where they're like hectares of farm and they're machine farming it, and it's like, fertilizer, what are those? Like, I have never heard of this weird technology of fertilizer. They don't need to, because once you have biosphere, like think of it this way, how the heck nature makes sure the plant grows anywhere? Like there is no one putting phosphor, nobody is putting nitrogen there. How the heck nature takes care of it? Microbiome. Inherently nature is built in such a way that it only does needs two things, so to say: atmosphere and sunlight. Sunlight is the main primary source, and carbon dioxide in our atmosphere is the main carbon source. Like life is made out of carbon, so we need that carbon. Nature takes care of everything else. Then why the heck do we need so much fertilizer in this and that? Because we are no longer protecting the microbiome that is running all the background task. We are destroying that. So now we have to do that background task of adding phosphor, adding nitrogen. Nature was taking care of that, but we removed the nature, because so we have to do zero tilling now. And also that's the first thing, that's the one thing. Again, I'm talking 25 years from now, you're like, who cares? But right now you will notice no drying of the soil. That's direct benefit. That's like, especially because our planet is warming, that is a very crucial aspect. And biodecomposition, meaning the crops that are growing, and the fact that you have provided us such a good healthy environment, it's gonna decompose the biomatter that was there. So microbiome will grow up and your plants will eat the cover crops. So fundamentally it literally translates into better yield, lower water consumption, lower fertilizer consumption, and do it for year after year. Your soil, instead of dying, becomes more and more and more healthier. That's the interesting aspect of it. Like we always have this attitude in farming right now, and you can ask with anyone, where it's like, oh, you farm it, like, but after 25 years it becomes garbage. And again, that's supposed to happen because our tools are not good. But if you have no zero tilling sort of system, you can keep farming. Every year you are farming, you are making it better. So, and if you do it properly with good soil study and analysis, you can make that soil like, bro, please, I got this. You can make a soil, like literally, this is what we call reverse desertification, meaning your soil content, soil life will become better. Now, what are the tools we need for this awesome technology? Well, Indian government takes it very seriously. Now be mindful, I'm not just talking about Indian government because that's what I see, but other places also, be it USA, be it other countries also, they are taking this very seriously, because any country that does not know the importance of the soil, it's doomed to failure. Fundamentally, you need to have this puppy. They are subsidizing it and also providing training, and same can be said about almost everywhere. I guarantee, that's my personal guarantee. There are 200 countries. Any country that has any modicum of intelligence and learning will make sure that you know about this, and there are tools you can buy. Again, subsidy, that depends on the government's economic status, but you get that point. Like there will be ways you can get this sort of tool, and it takes less energy. That's another advantage on the farmers. Like these are the three things you will notice instantaneously, meaning you will no longer need the same amount of fertilizer as you used to. The amount of fuel you are burning to just do that tilling operation, it's far less. Like if you are consuming 15 liters of diesel, now you will consume only 11 liters. Now you may say 4 liter does not matter, but think of this, I'm talking about like per hectare, just a rough estimate. Now imagine you have to do that on hundreds of hectares. That's a lot of fuel that you will save. That literally directly translates to everybody being happy, because the government no longer have to subsidize the same amount of fuel. And tool can be had anywhere. That's one of the things. And even for cover crops, like again, cover crops, sometimes we will have this old habit of just cutting the cover crops. That may not be necessary, and again, that's not even recommended. Right now, recommendation is you have the cover crop and you have a roller. This is what we call stem cripper. All it does is just rolls over it, and because it has blade edges, it just crimps the stem and it basically suffocates the plant, and doing so creates a shield, this armor, quote unquote. Now why would you want quote unquote armor there? Because again, you can put through the armor using this sort of system, but this armor will protect you against weed growth, meaning weed simply cannot grow because there is an armor on top. This also protects your plants from heat stroke, meaning there is a giant, like literally 1 inch or 2 inch thick grass shielding that is protecting soil from drying out and cooking itself. That fundamentally gives more of the moisture into growing the plant rather than just like boiling off. So fundamentally it has amazing advantages. And this roller, again, you get that point, like you can even get it fabricated locally. It's nothing fancy. So this is one of those things that we are surprisingly good at, because be mindful, while no-till still is not the major way of doing things, more than enough people have been practicing this puppy for enough time that they know. It's like, yeah, it's a common thing we do. It's companies also know this. Now, why not everybody is adopting it? Again, like a lot of people are stuck in the past, because again, it did work. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But again, it's gonna be broke next year. That's the whole issue with this. We have been using many of the systems that does work. That's why they have been used, but they are running on borrowed time. And that time we are noticing now that, oh, we are gonna run out. So a specific tool for specific crop covers have been developed. All the tool set, all the toolkit you need is there. Yes, they are a bit more expensive, and yes, you have to invest a lot, but failure to do so literally translates to you starving to death. So make your choice. So we have to understand one core aspect of it. Our mindset has to change, because right now we have this mindset of brute forcing soil, like, oh, we're gonna control how the moisture happens here, or we're gonna control how the heck we add moisture, basically nutrition here. We're brute forcing it. But we have to understand this aspect. If you have a healthy soil, it's far more robust and efficient than anything else. What does that translate? That simply translates to, if you have a rain, it will not destroy your crops. Like, how the heck you can have, like, rain flooding, end of rain, and it's not destroying? Because if you have a healthy soil, it can absorb ludicrous amount of water, like ludicrous, like it would be crazy. And there are I have provided a video down below, please do check them out. And the last video is of a gentleman who's been doing this for almost 2 decades at this point in time, 2-3 decades, and is literally there are government studies that study how much water rainfall per year the soil can handle. They're like, he's in a place that barely gets like 15 inches of rain, and the soil can handle 20. Soil is like, I got this, man. Like, let it rain for long, I don't care. Soil is like, I got this. Rain cannot destroy your crops. So you have to understand that. And that same goes for heat side also, meaning it heats up, because you have such a deep healthy layer of ecosystem, it will take care of itself. It's like, I got this. And again, if you are using cover crops as a shield, it will not even cook itself. It's like, I got this, I got this. Your water consumption will go up, but it will not go, oh, my farms are failing, or my crops are failing. It won't go that bad. So it's far more robust and efficient. And in terms of weed growth, because there is such a healthy ecosystem, there is no more like, one can overtake it all. There's like hundreds of different classes of warrior, hundreds of different classes of bacteria, contagions, everything. It's like, I got this. Like, one thing cannot like overtake your field. It's simply, physics would not allow that. So healthy soil is far more better than like, having the latest and greatest fertilizers. Healthy soil is the key here. And it's a long-term game. This is one thing you have to understand. Yes, you can do no-till farming, and yes, it will turn a profit first year itself. But the main benefit, the main joy of it, the main, oh wow, like you hit the jackpot, it happens over time. Meaning every year you are doing this, you are adding a little bit of layer. Well, let's say only 1 inch. Let's say not too much, 1 inch. You are adding 1 inch. Next year 1 inch. Now imagine your soil goes like almost 2 feet deep, and you still has good biological content. Like, you can plant anything indefinitely, it will keep taking care of itself, because once biosphere becomes recharged to the old levels, it's like, I got this. Like, that's how forest maintains itself. Forest only needs air and sunlight. It's like, I got this, fam. It does not need phosphor, it does not need nitrogen. That's the whole point. Bio ecosystem that is on the ground, this is the main reason why earth has life. That's the primary thing that we have been missing so far. And that's why I would urge you, because like when I use this to someone, is like, dude, without fertilizer farming we cannot do that, because of our old system. Once you have a healthy soil has a way of taking care of itself. It's like, I got this, man. I got this. So this is one of the things, every year you do that, you are like, paying dividends. And after like, 5 years or 10 years or 30 years, you'll be like, I'm set. I got this. Multi-generation farms can now make sense, rather than like, oh, my fathers used to be farmer because the land became salted, we no longer do farming. That won't be the case. You're like, dude, now we farm, now we make much more profit. And old wisdom does not work. This is one critical aspect. It's really brutal for Asians, because our philosophy, and I mean like, Vietnam, be it India, be it China, we have this sort of philosophy where like our old knows the best. While that is true to some extent, and in some cases they are, but in changing landscape, in the fact that we are learning about soil, be very mindful. Many times people have this illusion, oh, old people used to know. All of the old civilization have this sort of record where they over-farmed the land and destroyed the land. It's a common thing. So it's not something like they knew it. Again, we are new, and like again, we need ludicrously high amount of food production that simply cannot be matched with old tactics. It has to be done new. It has to be tailored for our requirements. So this is one thing we have to let go. It's like, just because you have been doing this puppy for like, let's say 30 years does not mean it's gonna work for next 30 years. That's the one thing that we have to understand. We have to humble ourselves. Where it's like, maybe my father did not know everything, maybe his grandfather did not know everything, this sort of thing. And the video that 50-minute video of that gentleman, he flat out talks about it. It's like his father is like old strong man, is like he used to work in the farm, and is like the more you work the soil, the better it will. And he realized that that's the worst advice you can give. But here's the deal, his father was successful, that's why he came to be, and he is a farmer. So you get that point. Like, something that works for like sometime does not mean it will work forever. So fundamentally we have to let go of a lot of this old wisdom, where it's like, no man, the system that you used for simply will not work anymore. And farmers have to become adapters, because while this is a photograph that you see in your history books, this is modern times. People have to take care very seriously and very quickly. Otherwise, failure to do so equals economic collapse of everything. Food is not optional. Food is not it's compulsory. It's compulsory. Like, think of it just like, it was like a very big shock to me that soil not supposed to be brown. It's like it was a shocking thing. Like soil supposed to be this sort of color. I thought like this is the color of the fertilizer, but then I realized like a good healthy soil that has been like no-tilled farm for like decades. Like literally that's the soil color. It's not fertilizer. It's not manure. It's literally goddamn soil itself. That's how it's supposed to be. I did not even knew that. Again, you may already know, but I did not knew that. It's like soil supposed to be like this. Like they say like soil supposed to be black cottage cheese. Then it's perfect. Then it can handle water. Then it can handle the temperature. It can handle well almost everything at that point in time. It's like the healthiest, like almost forest floor. It's like I got this, fam. I got this. Like nature has a way of taking care of everything. We just have to adapt to it. Whereas like I got this. Can I milk a farm like just this one monoculture? Then we're gonna give you 20 crop cultures. Then we're gonna do one monoculture, 20 cover cultures. You have to balance this puppy out. And we have to do it. This is not optional. Otherwise, again, this just one is horrifying given the fact that it happened recently. So this is something that we have to take very seriously. No-till farming is just one of the toolkit that we have that allows us to basically restore our land, so to say. So this was my presentation on no-till farming. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.